Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The Sensex gains over 500 points. The Nifty up nearly 200 as bulls maintain the winning momentum on Dalal Street this Monday. All sectoral indices end in the green. Reliance Industries expected to report a stable Q4. The street expects an improvement in core refining margins and strong subscriber addition at Reliance Jio. Vodafone Idea's 18,000 crore rupee follow-on public offer subscribed close to 6 times on the final day. Qualified institutional buyers take the lead, subscribing 15 times the portion preserved for them. The response from retail investors is muted, with 80% subscription as of 3:30 this afternoon. The Supreme Court asked the Union government to amicably resolve the drought relief fund controversy with Karnataka. The Attorney General says permission has been sought from the Election Commission for the transfer of funds, while the Model Code of Conduct is in place, seeks time till the 29th of April. Singapore and Hong Kong ban select products of India's popular spice brands MDH and Everest. Food regulators claim the spice mix had ingredients that can cause cancer. Calcutta High Court cancels the 2016 jobs panel for West Bengal School Service Commission. Rules as invalid. The recruitment of over 25,000 teaching and non-teaching staff orders them to return the salary earned since being recruited within 4 weeks. Also directs the CBI to look into irregularities and submit a report. The head of the Israeli military intelligence resigns over the failure to prevent the October 7th Hamas attack, making him the first senior official to accept blame and step down. Tensions continue to simmer in the region as Israel continues to bomb Gaza, and Lebanon claims to have shot down an Israeli drone inside its airspace. The U.S. House of Representatives passes a long-delayed bill to approve $95 billion in military aid for Ukraine, Israel and the Indo-Pacific. Ukraine will get $61 billion and Israel will get $26. Global defense budget jumps to a record high of $2.4 trillion in 2023. The 7% annual growth is the steepest in decades, and for the first time, military spending increased across all continents. India is the 4th largest military spender with an expenditure of over $83 billion. Repolling underway at 11 voting booths of the Inner Manipur constituency under tight security. The EC had declared voting in these booths as null and void due to violence and vandalism. In an unprecedented turn of events, BJP's Surat Lok Sabha candidate Mukesh Dalal elected unopposed. This after nominations of the Congress candidate and his backup were cancelled over alleged discrepancies in the signature of the proposers. Other candidates withdrew their nominations this morning. 17-year-old Indian chess prodigy Gukesh becomes the youngest player to win the candidates tournament. The second Indian to win the prestigious tournament after Vishwanathan Anand. The victory also makes him the youngest ever challenger for the World Championship. Well, as always, the day's market action to start with. Dalal Street extended Friday's gains, ending at a one-week high. The Sensex and the Nifty gained over 1% today, with all sectoral indices closing in the green. The Nifty up 190 points, the Sensex putting on about 560, so almost 1% higher. Reliance Industries, the big boy with earnings expected later this evening, up by about 0.5%, and ICICI Bank a gain of almost 2% coming in there. Axis Bank also batting for the bulls today. The broader markets rose in line with the blue chips. Prashant is standing by with the day's market action. Prashant, a strong start to the week.
A great way to start a new week with the market launching and continuing the big move that we saw on Friday. I mean, Friday, of course, from the day's low, the market had gone up quite a bit. Then the US market on Friday's session had sold off going into the weekend in anticipation that, there'll be another flare-up over the weekend in the Middle East. That did not happen. This morning we came in and things were quiet, things were calm, and we started on the positive footing and continued to build on it through the course of the day. So we've kind of retraced in a very significant way the 1,000-odd point fall that we've had on the Nifty from the highs that we saw early on. So the Nifty and the Bank Nifty will come up on your screen. Decent gains on both. Mid caps and small caps, of course, looked even steadier through the course of the day, and the closes there up on your screen as well. Now, large caps, the big gains coming through in names like BPCL, Eicher. There was Tata Consumer, L&T, Shriram Finance and Axis Bank, which participated today. On the downside, some pullback, small ones, but NTPC, HDFC Bank and JSW Steel are the three names that I'd like to put on the table. In the broader market, it was really, lots of stocks really. SW Solar, which, turned a profit for the quarter. ITI was a big volume-led gainer. Tejas Networks, a case in point. Triveni, Viatech Vabag broke into a new high, the first since 2015. GSFC, there was Premier Explosives, Hikal, TD Power, KM Sugar, Skipper Limited, and a name like RateGain, which had given up 30% from the highs, which was back up about 7% today. So lots happening in terms of single stocks. On the downside, Persistent, of course, was the big disappointment. Management on the call saying that margins are going to be flat this year. That's F525. JSPL was again another news-related casualty. RK Forging as well. There were but other names like Birlasoft, KPIT, Exicom, which had seen a pretty large rally recently, Thermax and Brigade Enterprises, which also saw some pullbacks. The market needs to hold on, maybe not do as much as it's done today and last Friday, but not give in as well if you're able to if you are to build on these gains and go up even higher from here. I think with geopolitics settling down a little bit, the focus goes back to the other big story, which is interest rates in the US, and a cut has been priced out and out later and lesser into the year, that is 2024. Back to you.
Yes, the cut's off the table for now. Prashant, many thanks for joining us. Foreign direct investment into emerging markets at its weakest level in the last 20 years. That's as per Gita Gopinath, the Deputy Managing Director at the International Monetary Fund. Speaking to CNBC, Gopinath said global flows have reversed significantly in China, but she also added that this reversal is not just limited to China. Take a look.
If you look at emerging markets as a whole, I'm taking the whole group, there is heterogeneity. If you take the emerging market group as a whole, we've seen what I would describe as weak net flows into the emerging market group as a whole. If you look at their share of global flows that they are receiving, pre-pandemic, that share was 25%. Now it's 20%. Within that box, one of the countries, of course, where flows have reversed quite a bit is China. But it's not a China-only story. And somewhat more worryingly, if you look at foreign direct investment, which is so critical for growth in emerging and developing countries, that has been the weakest it's been in the last 20 years to this region. Now, why is this? It reflects many factors, including very strong growth prospects in the US, weakening growth trends in some of the major emerging market economies, and of course, the big interest rate differential that we're seeing between the advanced economies and emerging markets.
Well, that is Gita Gopinath on the challenge for emerging markets to draw in foreign direct investment. But on to earnings now. Reliance Industries is expected to report a stable set for Q4. Improvement in core refining margins likely to be the key driver. Subscription addition in the geo vertical is also expected to improve sequentially. Sonia standing by with more on what we can expect. Sonia, what should we watch out for Reliance?
Well, Reliance Industries is all set to report their numbers, and we are expecting a stable set this time around. Let's take a look at the stock first. It's been a very good performance for Reliance Industries. The stock is up almost 30% in the last 6 months. In fact, in the month of March, the stock hit a fresh 52-week high as well. Now, let's go across and see what you can expect from the numbers this time. A decent set of numbers. So 2.35 lakh crores is what we're expecting on the top line, slightly higher than what they did last quarter. On the margin front as well, we are looking at the EBITDA to fall just a tad bit, about 2% or so, while the margins will be stable at that 17% mark. On the profitability, a double-digit up move in profitability is what the street is expecting this time from Reliance Industries. The core business is something that has done well because of higher oil prices, a better refining margin, and hence that will be the key driver for Reliance Industries this time, and improvement in the core refining margins. If you move on and talk about, the quarter-on-quarter performance, remember the refining earnings were impacted by shutdowns last quarter. So quarter-on-quarter, this will look like a good performance. In fact, across the board, whether it's retail, whether it's telecom, there will be a sequential improvement in most of the businesses. In fact, in Jio as well, the subscriber momentum will continue quarter-on-quarter. We are expecting 10.8 million net additions this time around to subscribers, and a continued upward bias to oil is something that should drive performance. That's the word coming in from JP Morgan. In fact, JP Morgan continues to maintain an overweight on the stock. Standard disclaimer, Reliance Industries owns the channel that you're watching.
All right, Sonia, many thanks for joining us. And staying with earnings, HDFC Bank reporting a good set of numbers for Q4. The bank's net interest margin coming in at a three-quarter high of close to 4%. However, net profit growth remained flat. The private lender has also announced a dividend of over 19 rupees a share. Shares of Persistent System under pressure today, dipped more than 10% in trade, marking the biggest single-day drop since October of 2018. Now, the stock dip can be attributed to the management giving out a weak margin guidance for FY25, even as the bottom line met expectations. And more from the IT sector, TCS has announced that employees with less than 60% office attendance will not be eligible for the quarterly bonus. According to reports, the IT services major is expecting a minimum 85% attendance of employees in office for them to receive full quarterly variable pay from now on. The company has also highlighted that consistent non-compliance could lead to disciplinary actions. In fact, talking to me earlier this year, TCS CEO K. Krithivasan explained why work from office was the right thing to do and why TCS was pressing ahead with that. Take a look.
Okay, so when we looked at when people are working remotely and things were getting to normal, but our associates continue to work from home, what we missed are a few things that first is the collaboration. At least within TCS, we value the collaboration and camaraderie a lot. And that was missing.
It can't happen over Zoom and Teams.
It cannot, right? See, while Zoom and Team are very efficient mediums, we overlook the importance of informal conversations, the chit-chat that happens in the office. The second, what we missed is, how do you follow, in TCS at least we keep all the time saying the values are very important to us. How do I impart the value to an associate who has not even come to office once? In fact, in TCS, about 30 to 40% of the associates joined in the last 2 to 3 years. And for the first 2 years, they're not even coming to office. If you don't even come to office, what is the value that you stand for?
But isn't there a middle ground that can be arrived at?
Like?
I mean, the flexible hours and the flexible sort of approach to coming into work a couple of days a week or so on and so forth.
The third point I was coming to, that's where I was coming to. The third one is when we look back all at our careers. Okay, of course, organization enable a lot of training, a lot of opportunities. But the most important learning came from seeing how the mentors and the seniors behaved in a given situation. And getting to know what is the best way to handle a given client situation, what is the best way to design a solution. So that cannot be replaced by any amount of training. And by observing continuously what the rest of the team does is the maximum value we get. And by saying I'll do flexible, I'll come for 2 days a week or whenever I like, you lose out a lot.
Well, that is the CEO of TCS on why TCS is asking for a return to work and now saying that if people don't comply with at least the minimum 60% attendance in office, well, then they will not be able to get their full variable pay, and non-compliance could potentially lead to disciplinary action. Telecom operator Vodafone Idea's 18,000 crore rupee follow-on public offer has been subscribed around 6 times on its final day. Demand led by qualified institutional buyers, whose portion was subscribed by more than 15 times. However, the response from retail investors muted, with about 80% being subscribed as of 3:30 p.m. this afternoon. The government's net direct tax collections for FY24 up 17.7% to 19.58 lakh crore rupees on an annual basis. This figure has exceeded the budget estimates by 7.4% and surpassed the revised estimates by 13,000 crore rupees. Direct tax collections for the same period coming in at 23.37 lakh crore rupees, registering a growth of nearly 19% on a year-on-year basis. A CNBC-TV18 news break confirmed Tesla CEO Elon Musk has decided to postpone his India visit, citing heavy obligations at the company. Now, remember, Musk was supposed to visit India for 2 days between the 21st of April to the 22nd of April, and he was to meet the Prime Minister and also announce his plans to enter India. However, sources have indicated that while Tesla will apply for a new EV manufacturing policy, its chief sourcing officer is also likely to visit India soon. Parikshit is standing by with more details. Parikshit, so, it was much anticipated, but finally didn't come through. Elon Musk postponing his trip to India. Anything we know about that? And now, what about Tesla's plans for India?
Well, we have been told that Tesla's plans for India are definitely on track. despite the fact that Elon Musk is not coming immediately, he'll now only visit India later this year. A source confirmed that it will happen after the elections. Now, here are some of the reasons why he may have postponed the visit. He has an important Q1 earnings call tomorrow in the United States. Now, while this was pre-scheduled, in the run-up to this, investors and analysts have been raising a lot of questions about Musk's approach, negative growth in China and globally. What is the plan for Model 2, the low-cost EV car from Tesla? What is the plan for launch? What is the AI roadmap at Tesla? So a lot of stiff questions coming Elon Musk's way. They have been looking at slowing sales in China due to competition from BYD, also from Xiaomi. The company has also slashed prices of its electric cars globally as well. Recently, we also saw Tesla recalling nearly 4,000 units of the Cybertruck due to an accelerator pedal issue. The Tesla share price has seen a 40% plus slide this year, which is also a concern for investors and Elon Musk himself. Tesla's shareholders will also be voting on a $56 billion compensation award for Elon Musk, which had earlier been denied by a US court in 2018. So it's in this backdrop that he has postponed that visit. Some things that were happening in India which may have led him to postpone the visit. Number one, the Indian government would not have been able to give approval for Starlink despite almost all regulatory clearances because of the model code of conduct. You cannot make new announcements. And we're told that Elon Musk wanted to come and make announcements both for Tesla and Starlink. So that will now happen after the election. When it comes to the India plans, very much intact. The sourcing part of it going on very strong. We believe that the chief sourcing officer of Tesla will be heading to India very soon. They want to source components to the tune of $15 billion from India in the next 5 years. We are also hearing that the Tesla team continues to scout for manufacturing plants in India, and they are going to zero in on one very soon. And for sure, they're going to be applying for the electric vehicle manufacturing policy, and that plan is very much intact. We must also tell our viewers that Sona Comstar, which is one of the key component suppliers from India to Tesla, has opened a plant in Mexico to cater to EV companies in North America. So Tesla is going to benefit from Sona Comstar's manufacturing plant in Mexico as well.
All right, Parikshit, appreciate you joining us. In international news, tensions continue to simmer in the Middle East. Israel bombing Gaza and has attacked multiple refugee camps, destroying their health facilities, residential buildings and infrastructure. Lebanon has claimed to have shot down an Israeli drone inside its airspace. Meanwhile, the head of the Israeli military intelligence has resigned over the failure to prevent the October 7th Hamas attack. This made him the first senior official to accept blame and step down. Thousands gathered in Tel Aviv to lodge their protest against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over the delay in hostage release. At least 5 rockets were launched towards a U.S. military base in northeastern Syria from Iraq. This attack comes a few days after Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammad Shia al-Sudani met U.S. President Joe Biden. There were no casualties reported. The attacks are the first against U.S. bases in the region since early February, when U.S. military struck Iran-backed militia in Iraq and Syria. The U.S. House of Representatives has finally passed a long-delayed bill to approve $95 billion in military aid for Ukraine and Israel, as well as the Indo-Pacific. Ukraine will get $61 billion. Israel will get $26 billion. Back home, the Delhi High Court has dismissed a plea seeking the release of Arvind Kejriwal on extraordinary interim bail in all criminal cases registered against him till his tenure is complete. The High Court cited that the Delhi Chief Minister is in custody by judicial order and that the matter is currently sub judice. The court has also imposed a fine of 75,000 rupees on the petitioner. The Supreme Court has allowed medical termination of pregnancy of a 14-year-old rape survivor. The court has allowed to abort the 28-week pregnancy. The bench led by Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud deemed the case as exceptional, as current laws allow medical termination of pregnancy only up to 24 weeks. The survivor's mother had moved the Supreme Court seeking termination of pregnancy after her plea was declined by the Bombay High Court on the 4th of April. Staying with the court, the Supreme Court has asked the centre to amicably resolve its issue with the Karnataka government over drought funds. The Congress government in Karnataka had earlier moved the Supreme Court seeking over 18,000 crore rupees from the National Disaster Relief Fund, alleging that 95% of its district subdivisions were drought impacted. Ashmit is standing by with more. Ashmit, take us through the observations made by the Apex Court, and this is now the latest in the tensions between the centre and individual states.
Indeed, it was in the previous hearing earlier this month, in the month of April, where the Apex Court had expressed concern as to why so many states are feeling the need on fiscal matters to approach the Apex Court for relief for securing funds from the centre. This is one aspect where the Apex Court had expressed concern, and in fact pushed and nudged the Solicitor General and the Attorney General appearing for the centre to have an amicable approach, to have a settlement to this issue whereby states wouldn't feel the need to come and approach the Apex Court, and that seems to have yielded some results. The hearing today was extremely brief, less than about 2 to 3 minutes. The Attorney General briefed the Apex Court that there appears to have been some inroads made with respect to a potential settlement. The Attorney General expressed confidence that something is likely to happen this week, in the space of this week. In fact, also clarifying that the centre has sought clarity from the Election Commission on whether or not transfer of funds can take place between the centre as well as the state government. Keep in mind, the Karnataka government is seeking as much as 18,000 crore rupees. That's from the NDRF. Karnataka government has been alleging that the final step in disbursement of funds, which is the convening of a high-powered committee by the Ministry of Home Affairs, has not been done. And that seems to have been the stumbling block. The Apex Court now allowing time till next Monday, that's April 29th. But this is not the only issue. It's not just on fiscal matters where opposition-ruled states appear to be moving the top court. We've seen issues of dispute between the Assembly as well as the Governor, issues being raised by Tamil Nadu, by Kerala, by Punjab, and now we find that a PIL has been filed that raises similar concerns about inaction by the Governor, this time of the state of West Bengal. The petition points out that despite bills being cleared by the Assembly, it is not being approved. They're not being granted the nod by the Governor of West Bengal. This is again something that the Apex Court has taken note of, has issued notice, and will be seeking a reply in 4 weeks' time.
All right, Ashmit, appreciate you joining us. Up next, Singapore and Hong Kong ban select products of India's popular spice brands MDH and Everest. Food regulators say the spice mix had ingredients that can cause cancer. That and more when we return. Singapore and Hong Kong have cracked down on the sale of some spice mixes that have been manufactured by popular Indian brands MDH and Everest. Now, this comes after the food authorities in Singapore as well as Hong Kong detected the presence of pesticides above safe levels. This has invited trouble for the companies back home too. Sources tell us that India's food safety regulator is likely to order a probe into both MDH and Everest products. The FSSAI will assess whether products sold by the two companies match the set standards or not. Archana is standing by now with more. Archana, which are the products that have caused the concern and what exactly have the food regulators raised as objections?
Thank you, Shireen. A concerning piece of news coming in. After Singapore, Hong Kong has stopped the sale of well-known Indian household masala brands MDH and Everest after allegedly finding cancer-causing pesticide in several samples. Now, after conducting routine surveillance checks, Hong Kong Administration's Centre for Food Safety has asked the public to not consume the affected products, while also telling traders and vendors to stop the sale immediately. As you asked, let me quickly tell you about the spices that have been banned in Hong Kong. They are MDH's Madras curry powder, Sambar masala, curry powder mixed masala, and Everest's fish curry masala. The distributors of these products are Dhillon Group of Companies, MPS Foods and Agam Trading. This has all been published on Hong Kong government's website. Now, in Hong Kong, an offender is liable to a maximum fine of $50,000 and imprisonment for 6 months if convicted. Now, the pesticide that has been found in these samples is ethylene oxide, which has been classified as a Group 1 carcinogen. Now, this is by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. We at CNBC-TV18 also tried to reach out to both MDH and Everest, but we haven't heard from them as yet. Now, last week, the Singapore Food Agency recalled Everest's fish curry masala due to the presence of the same pesticide, ethylene oxide, beyond acceptable limits. Now, it's important to note that under Singapore's food regulations, this particular pesticide is allowed to be used in the sterilization of spices. The authorities have told people that those who've already bought and consumed the products and have health concerns must seek medical advice. Now, let's also tell our viewers why our spices and food items contain pesticides. The WHO says that there are more than 1,000 pesticides that are used around the world to ensure that our food is not damaged or destroyed by pests. Each pesticide has different properties and toxicological effects, and they may induce adverse health effects, including cancer, effects on reproduction, immune or nervous systems, and nobody should be exposed to unsafe limits. Back to you.
Archana, many thanks for joining us. So MDH and Everest are facing the regulators' wrath in Hong Kong and Singapore, and we're given to understand that here in India, the FSSAI is now likely to probe. Fresh polling is taking place at 11 booths in Inner Manipur with stringent security measures. Now, this comes after alleged incidents of vandalism, destruction of EVMs and firing by miscreants that were reported during the first phase of the Lok Sabha polls on Friday. The Election Commission declared the polls in these 11 stations null and void on Saturday. In an unprecedented turn of events, BJP Surat Lok Sabha candidate Gukesh was elected unopposed. This after nominations of the Congress candidate and his backup. So both Congress candidates, their nominations being cancelled over alleged discrepancies in the signature of the proposers. Other candidates withdrew their nomination this morning, and so the BJP candidate being elected there unopposed. Prime Minister Modi sparked controversy by alleging that the Congress party intends to redistribute private wealth of people to Muslims. Opposition parties have termed the Prime Minister's statement at an election rally in Rajasthan as hate speech and a ploy to divert attention from real issues. The Election Commission has refused to comment on the speech made by the Prime Minister.
पहले जब उनकी सरकार थी उन्होंने कहा था कि देश की संपत्ति पर पहला अधिकार मुसलमानों का है। इसका मतलब ये संपत्ति इकट्ठी करके किसको बांटेंगे? जिनके ज्यादा बच्चे हैं उनको बांटेंगे। घुसपैठियों को बांटेंगे। क्या आपकी मेहनत की कमाई का पैसा घुसपैठियों को दिया जाएगा? आपको मंजूर है ये कांग्रेस का मैनिफेस्टो कह रहा है कि वो माताओं बहनों का सोने का हिसाब करेंगे, उसकी जड़ती करेंगे, जानकारी लेंगे और फिर उस संपत्ति को बांट देंगे।
चलिए, आपकी गारंटियां झूठी, आपके जुमले झूठे, आपके वादे झूठे। अब देश को हिंदू मुसलमान के नाम पर आप झूठ परोसकर बांट रहे हैं। कांग्रेस के मैनिफेस्टो में कहीं भी, मैं ये चुनौती करता हूं प्रधानमंत्री को, कहीं मुसलमान या हिंदू कोई इस तरह का शब्द हो तो हमें बताएं और ये चुनौती स्वीकार करें, नहीं तो झूठ बोलना बंद करें। कांग्रेस के मैनिफेस्टो में न्याय की बात की है। न्याय नौजवानों के साथ, न्याय महिलाओं के साथ, न्याय आदिवासियों के साथ, न्याय श्रमिकों के साथ। उसमें प्रधानमंत्री को आपत्ति है। आपत्ति हो भी क्यों ना, ये हमारा न्याय पत्र प्रधानमंत्री को आईना दिखाता है और उनके 10 साल के कृत्य दिखाता है।
The Election Commission declining to comment on the matter. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue right here on CNBC-TV18. We're back in a moment with more.